Hi everybody and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about evaluating expressions. So your goal after watching this video should be to comfortably be able to plug in values and get outputs based off of inputs for expressions. So getting started today with our application of this. I think about kind of like an input-output machine. So you need some consistency here. So if something goes in, you expect to get a value out. So let's say, I don't know, for example, if you're pumping gas, I think that's a good example. If you pump 5 gallons of gas and it costs $2 a gallon, you expect your output to be $10. So if your input is 5 gallons, then your output should be $10. Now the rule here is where the expression comes in. So this is your expression. And this basically is the process of how we get from the input to the output. So if gas is $2 a gallon and we buy X gallons of gas, this 5 is our X value and it's going to spit out the $10 that we have to pay. So that's an example of an expression. And the big thing for this is predictability. So rules, just like expressions, they need to be followed and they need to have the same output. So for example, I can't walk up to a pump, put in 5 gallons of gas, and then Mrs. Denowitz comes in behind me. She pumps 5 gallons of gas, and it only costs her $2, right? That wouldn't make sense. There wouldn't be order. The gas station attendant, they wouldn't know if they're making money or losing money that day. So the expressions, the rules need to be consistent, and it needs to be predictable. And the same thing for us. Like if I'm pumping gas and I don't know how much it costs, I need to know how much money to bring to know if I'm, going to be able to drive my car home or if it's going to be impounded because I can't pay. So important things to think about here, but the biggest way to think about it is like an input-output machine. You put something in, it gives you something out. And that's basically the goal for being able to evaluate expressions. And there's a lot of different examples for this. If you're buying lumber for a construction job, again, if your input is you need 8 sheets of plywood and a bunch of 2x4s or 2x6s, you need to know like, okay, if I buy 8 sheets of plywood and 8 2x4s, that should cost me $100. Which obviously that's a lot less, especially with the lumber prices today. But the idea is that it needs to be predictable. You need to know based off of your input how much it's going to cost. That way it's not a surprise when you go to check out and pay. All right, so jumping in here, we are going to have our vocab word today. And we are looking at today evaluating expressions. So what we're going to say, this is substituting inputs into expressions to calculate output values. So it's just a really fancy way of saying put something in, it goes through the process, and you get something out. So our example is our input would be 5 gallons. We input it into the expression, and our output is being charged $10. So that's our process here. So first, our job is to replace each variable with parentheses. I would say the biggest thing with evaluating expressions is negatives are easy to lose. The best way to keep track of them is with parentheses. Next, you're going to want to substitute each input into the appropriate variable. If there are multiple variables, make sure you are matching the correct number with the correct variable when you go to plug in. And then finally, use what we were just talking about, PEMDAS to solve. I know that was 1.2 skill. Again, without PEMDAS, your expression will not be evaluated correctly. Your output will also not be correct. So important that we are following those rules carefully. Let's see. So we'll do, I think the top 2 examples will be good. And if you have any questions, just message me and I can send you over solutions for anything else. But I'll ask that you do 3 through 6, and we'll start off with 1 and 2 together. So I'm going to highlight. We have an X. We have an X. And we have a Y, and we have a Y. So again, carefully making sure that my variables match. So if I go to plug in here, my expression is y divided by 2, and I messed that up. Wow. My board is not agreeing with me today. All right, so y divided by 2 plus x. What I do is kind of like a little check to make sure I never make a mistake, is I write really small underneath where I put my parentheses, which I'm just realizing I should have put that there. I write the variable really small under where I should have put my parentheses. So I know, it's like, okay, even though the parentheses are there, the variable's gone, I know that my x belongs here, and I know that my y belongs here. And if I do that, I will be okay. I'm just going to rewrite PEMDAS. I want to make sure that I'm not leaving that behind and that I'm going in the correct order. So no parentheses with operations inside, no exponents, multiplication and division. I do see division, so let's start here. 2 divided by 2 gives me 1 plus 1 equals 2. All right, so our output is 2. Moving on to our next one. Again, let's do some quick highlighting. We have an A. We have a B. And another example of, again, that negative sign in front of the B. If we're not careful with our parentheses, this will lead us to a little bit of trouble. And again, I'm going to write my variables small so I understand what and where I'm plugging in. And this is why high quality work is so important, because I know that we can subtract 10 minus 5, but it's making sure that we're plugging in the right numbers to do that is the real challenge of the organization and attention to detail. So A is 10, B is 4. Again, thinking about PEMDAS. And here we're just on that last level of just subtraction. So the order, we are going to, basically doesn't matter, but I'll just go left or right here. So a final answer of 1. All right, so hopefully that helped us get started here. Again, be careful with PEMDAS, be careful plugging in. I think you should be good to go. Again, any questions on 3 through 6, feel free to reach out to let me know. But looking forward to seeing everybody in class soon, and